Tulio Baba, today you must be excited and a happy man that your architectural work has been a part of this newly constructed church in Nuvem. Tell us, explain us exactly what is this all exactly and what is the shape and everything all about.
See, look here, we have an old 17th century monument, the old church of Nuvem.
Which is there at the side? This is this one.
Church, a 17th century Baroque monument. We decided, in deference to the wishes of the parishioners, to retain this monument and further restore it to its original glory. Having said that, the old church was a chapel, and it was elevated to the status of a church in 1903.
Okay.
It's a small church accommodating just about 200 people.
Oh.
Yes. So there was a long pending dream of the parishioners of Nuvem to have a bigger church. As you know, Nuvem is a suburban parish close to Margaon, and there is a lot of it's a growing parish, and they have, I think, maybe more than 3,000-4,000. We may get the correct figure from the parish priest office. And we try to accommodate as many parishioners in a single service as possible. And this church will accommodate easily about 12 to 1,400 people, faithful, who will be attending.
So 4 to 5 times more than the earlier one.
Yes. That was the whole objective of having a new church, to have more parishioners come and take part in the services of the church and be a part of the congregation.
Explain us about the modernization of the structure. How do you thought about coming
now,
out with
many
this?
people were asking me, why is the church built in a different style from the old one? You cannot replicate 17th century Baroque architecture in contemporary times. Contemporary architecture has to follow the trends, and the availability of materials and other philosophies of the current era. For example, I'll tell you, we have used certain elements as a metaphorical representation of the old. Like, for example, the old church has got a plastered facade. But the new church, and they have got exposed stone on the side. We have put some exposed stone on the front.
Okay.
To show that the church emerges from the ground, and then we have a glass on top. We have a glass on top to see that there is a maximum amount of light that is captured within the church. In the middle of the glass facade, there is a stained glass panel of Jesus, Mary, Joseph. The church is dedicated to Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Similarly, there is a big panel on the rear. We don't call it the rear because the church has got a eastern entrance and a western entrance. And on the western side, you can see it from the new highway flyover. There is a life-size stained glass of Our Lady of Mother of the Poor, Maes the Pobres, as our local people venerate and have got a strong devotion for her.
How difficult it was to architect all this?
See, we conceptualize this church as a representation or imagery of Noah's Ark. Okay, that's how you see a shape that depicts Noah's Ark. It has been built in stone with some RCC frame and a steel roof, and we have a bell tower on the left of the church. Touching the bell tower, and between the church and the bell tower, there is a mural, an imagery of Jesus calming the waters. That's exactly an imagery related to the Noah's Ark.
Okay.
Yes.
So everything has a meaning from the Bible.
Yes. We have got a meaning from the Bible, and that's how these biblical references were made, and we try to accommodate these as part of the representation that we do while conceptualizing a church.
Okay.
The church has been designed in simple lines and in architecture which embodies simplicity and service.
how many years it took from the start of constructing this church till date?
It's about 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
But in that, there was a gap of almost 2 years
Due to COVID.
the COVID times when the work had to stop. You are well aware. Now, I wanted to bring another point which I had made a mention of. The old 17th century architecture, beautiful it is. We retain it as heritage. But you must remember that architecture was brought by the colonial rulers of that time. Whereas today, this church is built as an aspiration and manifestation of the people's architecture. So the people and the parishioners have built this church for what they want by expressing that. And the parish priest who has been spearheading the work of getting this church completed has always been cooperative and has been a wonderful guide in seeing that many of these ideas that we brought to fruition were given some meaningful representation.
Okay. This is an outside part. Could you go inside and explain to us exactly how it is? Bitor bakasha asa poita exactly.
There is a flight of steps that reach you to the main entrance. That is because the church required a little bit of an elevation because we have a road which passes in front of the church on the eastern side, which is almost about 1.5 meter, about 6 feet above our ground level down. So not to dwarf the church, we raised this entrance by a flight of about 10 steps.
Okay.
Then you enter the main door. There are 2 smaller doors on the side and a large main door welcoming the congregation and the faithful to participate in the church service.
Now, adle itun te par amni pote pillar ya to kais disona. So how you were able to manage all this?
That is another part which you have pointed out. We have made a columnless structure thanks to the cooperation of our structural consultant, engineer Olaf Carvalho, who is a local from Nuvem, a parishioner rather from Nuvem. And he was wonderful in his cooperation because the architect and the structural engineer have to cooperate to bring forth a successful project like this.
Okay.
So we have a columnless structure and the people will not have any obstruction, and from any angle wherever they sit, they will be able to see.
So from all
what's
sides you
happening
can listen to the mass or listen to the
Besides
sermon.
that, of course, the mass will be relayed live on the 2 side screens over there.
So screens are also put upside up.
Screens
There's a
also
space
put
for that
up.
also.
A well-defined sound has been done with sufficient safeguards for the acoustics of the church.
Okay.
So you can see some soundproofing has been done on the eastern walls so that the echoing and the reverberation of the sound has been looked at and taken care of.
Tell us about the altar, the significance, because it looks elegant.
See, the altar has got, although it's a new church, and as I said, in contemporary design, the altar has lot of borrowed elements from the old Baroque architecture. So we have the pilasters, then we have the niches, we have got the pediment on top. So all these were composed, and there is Father Adrian Furtado, who has been the conceptualizer and putting this idea together. So we have a beautiful altar which has been done with gold leaf hints besides the main cladding of the altar that is done. So it was all done in a massive steel frame that has been clad with timber.
Now, not only this, even on top people can sit during mass.
So,
and also
as I told you, the whole idea in the volume of the church was to accommodate as many parishioners as possible. So we have got almost about 400, at least 350 comfortably that can be seated on the choir loft of the church. And that is accessible from 2 staircases on both the sides of the church.
Now coming on to your architectural part, was it easy to come out with such type of a picture?
No, it was difficult because what happens, the church had its limitations. There are 2 resources that the church had to provide. One is the land resource to build the church, and one is the money. So the people, I think, voluntarily came forward and offered their donations because it was their dream. As far as the land is concerned, you see the church, the old church is there on the northern side. You can see the wall from here. We have the compound wall on the southern side, beyond which is the school belonging to the church. We have the road on the eastern side and another school building touching on the western side. So in that plot of about 45 meters,
You have to accommodate everything.
75 meters, we had to accommodate everything. So within the limited resource of land that we had, we tried to provide a structure which had to be in scale and proportion as per the old church, because we could not totally dwarf the old church because we are retaining the old church. So even if you stand on the road, you see the old church and the new church practically in single line. And then the inside envelope had to be airy and sunny as well as well ventilated. With that we could use the natural light and ventilation in a good measure, so that only a minimum amount of artificial lighting and artificial ventilation. You see, we have got just 2 fans.
Yeah.
And yet the church is very cool inside compared to the weather outside. Same way, we have got windows at the lower level as well as on the upper level. With this, the church has got an excellent cross ventilation. And I don't think that the faithful that will be seated inside will feel warm.
So finally, you must be satisfied with your work.
Yes, we are definitely satisfied with the work, and we thank the parish priest, Father Victor Rodriguez, and the committee of the church and all the parishioners of Nuvem for having given me this divine opportunity of bringing to light and bringing to fruition their dreams of having a new parish church. That I acknowledge and thank for the contribution of all the parishioners, and I thank them for their able support in helping me to put together their ideas in a big way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.